Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 pre-DCEU movies you didn't know existed.
Wait a minute, wait 1 minute. I mean, you can do the whole number, leap tall buildings with a single bound? You can look right through things?
Yes.
Bend steel bars?
Yes.
Whoa.
For this list, we'll be looking at lesser-known times DC characters appeared in movie format before the DCEU came about with the release of 2013's Man of Steel. Are our picks up, and away, or are they wholly hogwash? Sound off in the comments. Number 10, Superman Returns.
You know, you really shouldn't smoke, Miss Lane. Sorry, didn't mean to startle you.
No, I'm fine, really. Just wasn't expecting you.
Didn't know existed? Probably not. But forgot about? Probably yeah. A quasi-continuation of Richard Donner's first two Superman movies, and simultaneously discounting anything related to 3 and 4, 2006's Superman Returns picks up following Kal-El's 5-year stint off-world.
Politics, does he still stand for truth, justice, all that stuff, lifestyle? Superman Returns.
The Brandon Routh-led movie was somewhat hit and miss in terms of intentions for the Man of Steel, and plans for sequels were shelved. That said, whilst most people felt the story was lacking, praise fell on the actors and the performances.
You wrote that the world doesn't need a savior. But every day I hear people crying for one.
Although a top-down change for Superman followed, Routh returned to play the character on the small screen in the Arrowverse Crisis on Infinite Earths storyline.
Hey, why'd you add black to it?
Because, Lois, even in the darkest times, hope cuts through. Hope is the light that lifts us out of darkness.
Number 9, The Flash. Though you'd be forgiven for wondering just why John Wesley Shipp's Scarlet Speedster has an entry in a list about movies when he played the 90s TV incarnation, it's actually quite simple. The pilot episode of the original Flash TV series was actually released as a full-length film. Yep, Warner Brothers decided that the pilot should be released as a direct-to-video feature and generate interest in their new property.
Barry? Barry, please answer me.
Sorry, my ears were ringing. I think I'm starting to like this.
Filmed with a budget of $6 million, which was quite substantial for a TV movie at the time, the series established the character of Barry Allen into the mainstream. Like Brandon Routh's Superman, Shipp would later return to play the Flash nearly 3 decades later on the CW.
So as someone who's been running for 30 years, let me tell you, sometimes in order to find your purpose as a hero, you gotta take a couple steps back. Reverse the way you see the situation and see a bigger picture.
Number 8, Steel.
Just give them their stuff back and we won't have a problem.
I ain't got no problem.
Oh, yes, you do.
The movie adaptation of John Henry Irons, the hero known as Steel, looked like a winner on paper, with the 7'1" Shaquille O'Neal set to play the titular role. The result, however, was far from a slam dunk.
Never could make the free throws.
With most of the cinema-going audience having little clue who Steel even is, the movie did little to help establish him, and strayed further still from the source material. The movie is cheesy, and even die-hard fans couldn't connect to the character. With no mention of comic book ally Superman in sight, the movie bombed at the box office, and a live-action Steel wouldn't again be seen on screen for almost a quarter of a century.
Not as fast as I thought.
Number 7, Supergirl. The late 1970s and early 80s were a good time for our resident Kryptonians. With 3 movies based on Superman already released, Warner Brothers decided to play safe and branch out into related stories.
You just flew over my head, didn't you? I
I'll
saw
go
you
back
do
there and
that.
I'll take care of everything, so
I said
don't
you just
worry
flew
about
over my head. True or false?
True.
like Superman.
He's my cousin.
He's your cousin?
Although she was initially included in an early treatment for 1983's Superman 3, instead as a love interest for the Man of Steel and not his cousin, Supergirl was deliberately reserved for her own film to be released during the following year. Sadly, the movie fared even worse than Soup's second sequel, currently holding a 9% rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
You have no friends, Selena. You treat everyone as if they were put on this earth to serve you. More or less, I think they were.
Lackluster storytelling, lame villains, and uninteresting action all contributed to poor reviews. However, Helen Slater's portrayal of Kara Zor-El was generally praised.
I have to go. I have to return this to where it belongs, and I must ask you all something.
It's all right, Supergirl. We never saw you.
We never even heard of you.
Thank you.
Number 6. Batman.
Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed.
Roger, ready to move out.
Holy Campfest, Batman! How could we possibly forget the 1966 cinema release of what's come to be known as Batman the Movie, the first full-length feature for the not-so-dark Dark Knight.
Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb.
Released between seasons 1 and 2 of the TV show from which it's derived, the movie was the first big-screen outing for the dynamic duo in almost 2 decades. But unlike the previous installments, which were Columbia serials, this one stayed true to the characters, as they were written at the time, that is, and is still revered today for its deadpan, tongue-in-cheek humor, and its fun and upbeat style. It also spawned 2 animated sequels, released nearly half a century later, with Adam West and Burt Ward reprising their roles as Batman and Robin.
Good job. Your grasp of the dead languages has improved.
No language can be dead if it lives in your heart.
Number 5. Superman 2: The Richard Donner Cut. A director's cut before the days of Zack Snyder? Who'd have thunk it? Richard Donner, director of the first Superman movie, had already shot 75% of the sequel before tensions and disagreements with producer Pierre Spengler led to his departure. Whilst director Richard Lester would complete the production, his director credit also required extensive reshoots, which Lex Luthor actor Gene Hackman would not return for.
You think you know people, right? Promises were made, gifts were exchanged.
For years, and despite the theatrical release's success, fans wondered just what the original intention for The Man of Steel was, petitioning Warner Brothers. Prior to the release of Superman Returns, they got their answer when Richard Donner returned to complete his take on the sequel, answering many unusual narrative decisions and restoring the world he had built.
Well, there he goes, kid. Up and away.
Number 4. Swamp Thing.
Oh shit. There goes the neighborhood.
This entry and its relative success may surprise you, as 1982's Swamp Thing is indeed a DC Comics movie adaptation. As director Wes Craven was much more renowned for horror, his choice to helm this blockbuster certainly raised eyebrows. Yet his dip into the Hollywood action scene was well received by critics and fans upon the release of this cult classic.
Much beauty in the swamp, if you only look.
Exciting, funny, and with a good amount of heart, Swamp Thing went on to garner several spin-offs and sequels, thus receiving a new lease on life. Sadly, Craven didn't return for the direct sequel, and the return of Swamp Thing is considered to be a subpar follow-up.
I'm sorry. Sometimes I forget what I look like.
Number 3. Gen 13.
This is your last chance, Callahan. Hand over the kids and you won't be harmed.
For decades, Warner Brothers has been the studio synonymous with DC comic movies. For feature film adaptations of DC-owned properties, no other studio can touch it.
I don't think you get it. In here, you're on my beat. So if you want to get hurt...
You're not going to hurt anybody.
Sadly, Jim Lee's Gen 13, a story about teenagers discovering they've been given superpowers, was a casualty of him selling the publisher Wildstorm to DC. Disney was simultaneously making the movie adaptation, and assuming the now DC property would fall under competitor Warner Bros. Slate, they pulled the feature from US release. Gen 13 was still released internationally, so fans didn't completely miss out on this true-to-source and unique style of animated feature.
What can I say? Sounds cool. I kinda like the superhero stuff.
Number 2. Batman, Mask of the Phantasm.
Time to pay for your sins, Mr. Bronski.
Like its 1966 predecessor, Batman: Mask of the Phantasm was released between the first and second seasons of the show from which it's based. But to say that the movie is a TV show tie-in would be a gross understatement.
Stay away. This is not your fight. This madness ends now.
Still considered by fans to be the Dark Knight's finest animated outing, as well as one of his theatrical best, the full-length feature was released in cinemas on Christmas Day 1993. It was a critical success, even outranking the previous year's Batman Returns in some pundits' eyes, but it didn't make a profit for Warner Bros. Until years after its release. A pity, since it could have opened the door to a bevy of animated theatrical outings for the Caped Crusader for years to come.
Vengeance blackens the soul, Bruce. I always feared you would become that which you fought against. You walk the edge of that abyss every night. But you haven't fallen in, and I thank heaven for that.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Number 1. Superman and the Mole Men.
You're not going to shoot those little creatures. In the first place, they haven't done you any harm. In the second place, they may be radioactive.
The first DC Comics theatrical release was a soft pilot for the Adventures of Superman TV series, which also starred George Reeves as the Man of Steel. Shot in just under 2 weeks, the movie is in black and white, a standard at the time, and introduces Clark Kent and his Daily Planet regulars into the mainstream.
Dr. Reed just removed the bullet from his chest. He's in there.
In there?
Mm-hmm. That is, Superman brought it to the hospital.
Well, then you know about Superman.
If I don't, who should?
Superman and the Mole Men, like Batman the movie, wasn't the first time the Kryptonian hero appeared on the big screen, as he too comes off the back of earlier serials which starred Kirk Alyn in the blue suit, and were released in parts just a few years previously.
That's about 2,000 miles away. I can be there in 30 seconds.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.